Yes po. Good morning po.
Thank you. Good morning. All right. So as mentioned yesterday, today will be the last day of the review session for English language. And then starting tomorrow, you will have your review session for English reading. So for our final discussion for language, let's talk about the writing process, some of the basic skills that we need to learn when it comes to preparing academic papers. So I'm sure you're familiar with the concept that writing, of course, is a process, right? So what does it mean when we say that writing is a process? So as we know, academic writing would be a vital skill that you as students would need to master in order for you to navigate university life more smoothly. Academic writing would require clear and concise communication, would require logical organization of ideas, and of course, the ability to support your arguments with evidence. Now, for this particular session, we want to explore some strategies on how to help all of us improve our academic writing skills. As you can see in this diagram, this would illustrate the idea that writing is a process. And given the fact that writing is a process, you have here the three stages of writing: pre-writing, and then the actual writing, and then what we call the post-writing, or simply known as the revising stage. Do you go through the three processes of writing before you submit your paper? Can I see a show of hands or a react? If you go through the writing process whenever you are writing, do you do that? Okay, so I see some students, for example, would in fact not go through the writing process. Sometimes we stop at the writing process itself and we don't go through the revising stages anymore. So we miss some mistakes that we may have been able to correct because we are not able to revise. And then some students also would go straight to writing, and that's when you find yourself normally, di ba, when writers would say, I have a mental block, or I can't seem to start writing. I've been staring and staring at my computer and I don't know what to write. Mostly that's because we haven't gone through the pre-writing stage, which allows us to prepare for the actual writing stage. So, as you can see, with the arrows, hindi linear ang writing process. So when you say hindi siya linear, it doesn't mean that you're done with the pre-writing, that you go straight to the writing, and then you go straight to the revising. It means that you can go back to the previous processes. To say, for example, part of pre-writing would be analyzing your audience. And of course, given that it's an academic essay, so you know exactly who your audience will be. So part of that, of course, would have to do with laying down the structure of what the paper is going to be like. And then for the writing process, you do the actual research, the outlining, etc., etc. But you can always go back and forth. So if you feel like you're lacking information about this particular aspect of your paper, then you can always go back to the research stage. And then as you are revising your paper and then you realize you're still missing some key aspects of your topic, then of course you can still go back as well to the researching and the writing part. And so I highly, highly encourage you to go through the different stages of the writing process when you write in order for your for the entire writing process to be more seamless and in order for you to feel like you're being productive. Alam mo, do you get that point that you aren't able to write much for today, but because you've done your research for today, you've done your outlining for today, there's a sense of productivity that comes with that. Writing is not just about sitting down and actually doing the essay. Writing also involves a lot more processes than that. Okay? So what are some of the things you do during the pre-writing stage? Kayo ba personally, before you sit down to actually write, what are some of the things that you do before you do the actual writing? Right? So you jot down your ideas, you brainstorm, correct? What else do you do? If a topic has not been provided by your teacher, so say for example, this is a paper where you get to choose your own topic, diba? You can consume related materials about the issue, whatever issue you've chosen, right? And then when you have a clear idea already, you can start outlining whatever it is that you want to include in your essay. So we say that for the pre-writing stages, we do the following. You choose your own topic if the topic has not been given to you. Most of the time, the topic may not be provided specifically. So what your teachers may do will be to give you a general topic, and then from there, you get to choose which specific aspect or which specific position, diba, as it relates to the topic would you like to write about. Identify your audience. So depending also on the writing assignment, you might need to consider the audience and the purpose. And then of course, like what you've mentioned already, gather supporting materials. Now let me ask you, how do you conduct your research? From where do you get your materials from? Right. So from Google Scholar, of course, from credible sources online, original data. So that means, say, you are consulting research, or if you are conducting your own interview from different databases, correct. So just make sure that the key term, like one of the students mentioned, would be credibility. So there are many sources online. Make sure that you are choosing credible sources. So normally you limit that by using Google Scholar or by checking the source, by checking the website. So normally the more credible ones would end with a .gov or a .org. So do not just rely on random PDF files uploaded online. You can also get from books. There are, of course, book availabilities already na available na on books that are available online, or if you need to visit the library, you can also do that. But again, let me just caution you that if you are consulting articles online or you are consulting publications online, please make sure that they are credible. And of course, in writing, especially if this is a time-sensitive issue, we prioritize the more recent sources. But of course, you can always go back to the more canonical sources. When I say canonical, so that means these are sources that may have provided the original definition, the original description of a particular phenomenon. But in terms of data findings, we prioritize the more recent studies. So like what you've mentioned, some strategies for pre-writing would include we call it free writing. Do you ever do free writing? You just write whatever comes to mind. And then formalized list making, if you're the type who likes everything organized, outlining or mind mapping. And then perhaps you can also do a question or list down questions that you may want to answer during the course of your writing assignment. Right. Yes, because you can actually incorporate your sentences or what you've pre-written into your actual paper. And sometimes the best ideas also come randomly. So if you have a piece of paper or using your gadgets, your phones, can jot down whatever comes to mind, which in fact later on you can use as a starting point for whatever it is you want to explore further in your paper. Now, normally in writing classes, your teacher might ask you to provide an outline for your paper. But generally, since you will be the one doing the bulk of the writing, and you will not be taking a lot of writing classes in college anyway, the reality is that you will have to do all of the writing steps on your own. So I highly suggest that even if you are not to prepare a or even if you are not to prepare a comprehensive outline, at least try to jot down notes and to logically structure your notes so that it would mimic an outline. As you can see here, of course, you have different formats and structures for outline, but generally, this is how an outline would look like. So say, for example, this is your outline content. This is what you want to include in your paper. Of course, an essay is composed of three main parts: introduction, body, and conclusion. Now, what I find in most papers is that there is an imbalanced distribution among the three parts of the paper. Diba, we call this the IBC format, yung intro, body, conclusion. When I say hindi balanced yung organization, yung distribution ng content, that has to do with the fact that say you are writing a 10-page paper, some students would write a 5-page introduction out of a 10-page paper. And so, of course, as a writer, you need to be able to scrutinize, to criticize, diba? To be a critic of yourself. In writing a 10-page paper, is it logical format? Which part of the paper is the longest? Right. So that would be the body, obviously. Diba? Because the body would contain the gist of the paper, the arguments of the paper, the finding, the evidence, the analysis. But perhaps it has also to do with the student being inspired, during the writing of the introduction, the first few days, so kailan ka nagsusulat, and then along the way, you lose your motivation to write. So ang haba ng intro, ang ikli ng body, halos wala ng conclusion. And I know that in your mind, this might seem like common sense related issues, but again, you'll see a lot of paper like we see a lot of papers like this in college. And I think that has to do with the student either mismanaging their time or again losing the drive to write as the assignment uh as you write or as you prepare the assignment. So again, these are all of the issues that you need to be able to address early on in writing. So whenever you write an outline, please make sure to avoid the following: unbalanced outline. So say for example, again, itong outlining issues na to, they're not just issues in outlining, but they're really issues that would be reflected in the essay itself. So say for example, here you see if your paper contains detailed analysis for argument 1 and argument 2, but then you have an argument 3, which you only very briefly discuss, then you know that there's something wrong with the essay. So you have 3 arguments. You need to develop all of the 3 arguments equally. Okay? Because if you present a paper in this manner, that can suggest that hindi well-rounded yung analysis of the topic. So either you were not able to research well about argument 3, di mo siya na-explain masyado. Again, this just doesn't pertain to outlining itself, but this will be reflected in the essay itself. So a more balanced outline or essay in general would look like this. There's an analysis or equal. Uh, there would be the development, equal development of all of your arguments. Then an oversimplistic outline can also result in an oversimplified essay. So say, for example, intro, positive and negative aspects, that's overly simplistic and it doesn't offer any detail about the arguments to be discussed. So say, for example, so what does it matter if there are positive and aspects to a certain issue? What analysis would you include about it? Is there a stance that you would like to take, etc., etc.? So here is a more detailed outline. You describe, you provide evidence, you analyze. Do you have arguments? And then later on, of course, in the conclusion, you summarize it. And then remember, when we talked about paragraphs, we talked about thesis statements. The thesis statement would, in fact, contain the main idea of the entire essay. So if there's an argument that you want to make in the essay, that's where we will find it. And then the rest of the essay would have to support that thesis statement. What about here? Look at this particular outline. What issue can we see here? So part 1 has to do with the history. Part 2 has to do with a related concept. Part 3 goes back to the history. Part 4 would provide a more in-depth discussion of the related concepts. So here you see the outline lacking a clear progression, jumping between two subjects without any apparent reason. And again, this will highly be reflected. This will be reflected in your essay, where a student writer will go back and forth certain issues relating to the topic. Again, related naman siya sa topic, but the way that the paper is organized shows very unclear progression, jumping between one issue to another. And so a disorganized outline can also result in a disorganized paper. And a paper where wala malang attempt mag-outline at the beginning can also result in a highly disorganized essay. So that's why even if you are not required to submit an outline, the preparation of an outline can still be a very helpful aspect of the writing process itself. So here, for example, a clearer, well-written outline can allow you to see the clear progression from one idea to another, as in this case. So for example, here you have historical background, you introduce a related concept, and then you deep dive into that concept, perhaps analyze it in modern context, relevance and applications today, and then conclusion. So again, you want to see the clear progression between from one idea to the next. Okay, so those are some of the things that we can do during the pre-writing stage. And I highly suggest that when you write, you do the pre-writing techniques that have been mentioned, whichever works for you. So whether that's jotting the notes, you do your research first, and then again, outlining. So even if it's not a formal outline, even if it doesn't follow the rigors of outlining, so I highly suggest that you do a bit of outlining in order for you to create the structure of your essay. It will serve as the skeleton of your paper. And then, of course, you have the composing stage where you turn your pre-writing ideas into sentences. So, of course, here you're going to build on the smaller ideas to bigger ones. So here, from sentences, you put them together into paragraphs, and of course, you organize paragraphs based on their purpose so that you can get something that looks like a formal piece of writing. So ultimately, what you want to do is to be able to make connections, diba? Among the different ideas you have in each of the sentences, connect those so that you can build a paragraph, and then you organize your paragraph so you can build an essay. Like what I've mentioned a while ago, an essay, very simple. here, this is very simplistic, but it's composed of the intro, the body, and the conclusion. And again, please give equal importance to all of these parts. And while the body is still the longest part of the paper, the introduction is also equally important because it provides context, it provides an overview of what the paper is going to be about. And of course, the conclusion also provides a closing statement where you can either readdress your arguments or restate your arguments and restate the thesis. And this is also where you can provide a call for action if you have any, provide a summary of the implications and the analysis you've provided in the paper. So now let me ask, since you prepare a thesis statement for an essay, where do you place the thesis statement in your essay? Right, so we find it in the introduction. It can be in the end of the introduction. That's right. But it's not strictly found only at the end of the introduction. So somewhere in the introduction, obviously it's not going to be the first sentence of your introduction, but somewhere in your introduction. Or it can be at the end of your introduction to signal the start of the body of the essay, but we should find the thesis statement in the introduction. Now again, what is a thesis statement? This is normally a one-sentence statement, but it's again not strictly one sentence. Uh, some students would write a two-sentence thesis statement, and that can be forgivable. But of course, the better thesis statement is a one-sentence statement that would tell us what the entire essay is going to be about. And everything in the essay would support the thesis statement. So in other words, the thesis statement will be will provide or will reflect the central argument or main idea of your paper. So it should be clear, concise, and very specific, providing a preview of the key points that you want to make in your paper. Okay, because that can determine what kinds of details can go in the essay. Now, for the next slides, let's go over some examples of thesis statements and let's analyze whether they can be good thesis statements for an academic paper. Take a look at this. Social media is bad. Why is it considered a poor thesis statement? What do you think? Would you write a thesis statement like this one, just saying social media is bad? What do you think? Is that the kind of thesis statement that we write in an academic paper? Right. So it's too simplistic, diba? Lack supporting details. The choice of words could be better. It's vague. No elaboration, correct. And there are no reasons to support the opinion. And we also have words like bad, even words like good, or words like successful. Diba? These words, while ginagamit naman natin siya sa essay, they lack concreteness. Diba? When we say there are words that lack concreteness, in an essay, we can use them, but we need to be able to support them. Say, for example, saying that something is bad, what does bad mean? Right? If you say that the project is successful, what were the metrics used to gauge that the project is successful? Right? So in simpler context, in a more simple context, if you say something like, please submit the results ASAP. ASAP is a very vague construct. I mean, it can change meanings depending on who's interpreting it. Diba kayo ba? How do you interpret as soon as possible? How soon is soon for you? Diba? So again, it lacks concreteness. And a good thesis statement would have to show what the direction of the paper is going to be about. So if you pepper it with terms that would lack concreteness, then it means that we're also not able to see exactly where the paper is going. So take a look at this. It's not social media per se that is bad. Do you agree? But social media can also be helpful, perhaps at times. So here in this version of the thesis statement, we are clarifying that it is the excessive use of social media that can contribute to certain mental health issues such as anxiety and depression. And then we lead further into what that can do. It can lead to social isolation and exacerbate feelings of inadequacy. So as you can see, in this case, we are guided. Ano ba ang gusto nating patunguhan ng ating paper? So when you write your thesis statement, make sure that you're very, very clear as to what you want to write in your paper. Diba? Per se, something per se is not bad, but it's, in this case, for example, you want for your idea to be reflected na yung excessive usage ang mali. So dito makikita natin that the improved version is more specific. It offers clearer arguments and it even hints at the evidence that will be presented in your paper. Okay? Change affects things. So as you can see, similar to the example given before, this is also a bad thesis statement because it's what? What makes it a bad thesis statement? Right, vague. Climate change affects things. What makes it vague? Diba the word things? What things? Ito yung thesis statement ng estudyante hindi pa nag-research. Gusto niya lang magsulat about climate change pero hindi pa siya nakapag-research. So ito yung kanyang nilagay sa thesis statement. It lacks context, lacks specificity, too vague. What are these things? So, in order to improve the thesis statement, we want to conduct our own research and then read about the things that climate change can, can actually significantly affect. So, for example, we want to write about how climate change can significantly impact the rising sea levels, increased forest fires, and loss of biodiversity. So here you can see that the thesis statement actually just focuses on one significant aspect that climate change would impact. That's the global ecosystems and eventually what that can mean, which means rising sea levels, increased forest fires, and loss of biodiversity. So again, the thesis statement shows already the areas that the paper will focus on. Okay. Similar to this one, there were many effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Again, the statement can be true, but it doesn't provide any insight or focus for the paper. So an improved version would give us the following details. It has profoundly impacted global economy, which caused shifts in the travel and retail industry and necessitated governmental interventions in unprecedented ways. In this case, again, you give your readers an idea of what the paper aims to do or what the essay aims to do. And again, a good thesis statement will also serve as the guide for the writer. Ano ba ang dapat kong isama sa aking paper? What about this one? So again, the statement can be true, but is this a good thesis statement? So here, obviously, I labeled it as a poor thesis statement. Now, why do you think is it a poor thesis statement? Okay, it doesn't explain the why or the well. Why is it becoming popular? Where is it becoming popular? That's true. So, wala tayong context. diba? As to what makes electric cars popular. And of course, ultimately, we don't just want to explain why they are popular, right? But we also want to explain, we don't just want to explain that electric cars are becoming popular. We want also to include reasons for them becoming more popular. That's right. So how they become popular. So again, a good thesis statement will contain all of the necessary details such as the following. So here, for example, we want to focus on what makes electric cars more popular. So here you have an argument that the increasing popularity of electric cars can be attributed to the following reasons: advancements in battery technology, growing environmental consciousness, and supportive government policies. And then again, of course, you can further contextualize it. So say you are writing a paper specifically in the Philippine setting. So again, that would recontextualize the thesis statement and the entirety of the essay. So again, make sure that in writing, you have a good thesis statement because the thesis statement will be your guide as you write the paper, and it will also be your reader's guide as they read the paper. So sometimes you read an essay and then you start off with a clear expectation of what the essay is going to be about because there is a well-written thesis statement. But the problem now comes in when the student is not able to support the thesis statement with enough details. And so a good thesis statement should allow you to decide what details to include in the paper. And the rest of the details in the paper should again support the thesis statement. And again, you may notice that I keep on saying this repeatedly over and over and over again, but this is really very important. And this is one of the common faults we see in students' paper. Either the thesis statement is poorly written, so that affects as well the flow of the paper, or sometimes there is a well-written thesis statement, but the rest of the paper seems to forget that there is a good thesis statement in the introduction. So parang nawala ng consistency from the TS to the discussion in the body and also the conclusion. So please take note of that whenever you write. Okay? Of course, in writing, we also have what we call style, which will allow you to determine whether the paper is written formally or informally. Of course, most of the papers you will prepare in the academic setting would be academic papers. But sometimes there might be leeways when, say, a teacher asks you to write a reflection paper. So it might not need academic citations like an academic paper. Okay, or just a sharing of ideas, say an essay that is informally written. But again, most of the time it has to be written formally. So again, when you're preparing formal academic papers, make sure to follow the rules of formal English. So we don't use contractions, we don't use informal slangs or informal phrases or words. We adhere to proper grammatical structure. And then of course, we cite the sources that we cite our sources. Okay, and the citations, of course, will depend on which citation format you are asked to use. Mostly, again, in the university, mostly APA, the recent version of APA. Okay, can also be determined by audience and purpose. There may also be writing assignments where the task is highly situational. So when you say highly situational, say for example, the teacher will ask you to prepare a material that will be written that will be read rather by a lay person. So in that case, you will also need to adjust the tone and the style so that it will better fit the characteristics of your audience. So that's why listening to instructions, paying attention to the details of what the paper should be like, those are also very important considerations when writing a paper. And then of course, we have organization. where all of the supporting details you include in the paper should be presented in a manner that makes sense. So this might require you to reorganize the paragraphs a bit. But again, if you have a good outline, that may be able to guide you already in terms of the organization of your paper. Again, determined by purpose. The purpose can be reflected in the thesis statement. Say, for example, if you have a thesis statement like this one, where you say that exercise is good, obviously this is a poor thesis statement. This one is a better thesis statement. So here in your thesis statement, this will also serve as a guide for the structure or an organization of the paper. Obviously, you start with what? In the body of the essay, you start with what? So say for us, say for example, we're writing an essay about regular exercise being vital to optimal health. What will you place in the introduction? So say this is your thesis statement, right? What information, how will you contextualize, what details will you place in the intro before introducing your thesis statement? Yeah, top of mind. So kunwari magsusulat tayo, this is our thesis statement. Statistics about exercising, public health statistics, right? About what? The state of the public's health, the lack of exercise, that it, the effects of the, okay. So perhaps a quick overview of what a person may experience with the lack of exercise. You can also start with something anecdotal, again, so depending on how you want the paper to be like. So for an academic paper, where you might be consulting different sources. So you can, yes, you can state statistics about your public health statistics or the rising statistics when it comes to preventable diseases, for example, that regular exercise can address. And then you introduce your thesis statement. Now, the body of your paper should also follow the structure as it is presented in the thesis statement. So obviously, your first argument should be about what should the first part of the body about? What should it be about? So if we follow the TS, right, so it has to do with the heart or the cardiovascular efficiency that regular exercise can give a person, followed by mental health, followed by helping in weight management. And again, this might seem very simple, but we see a lot of students with a decent thesis statement, pero jumble-jumble na siya pagdating sa body. Dahil wala siyang wala siyang, hindi niya na-edit or hindi niya finalo yung kanyang thesis statements. So the thesis statement is there precisely because it's meant to provide direction for the rest of the paper. Okay? And then, of course, you have citations. You will have a review sa citation format pagdating sa inyong reading portion of the English sessions. But let me just emphasize the idea that in the university, we are very strict, of course, with the maintenance of academic integrity. So that's why we give credit to the original authors through proper citations and referencing. Plagiarism, of course, is a serious offense and can have severe consequences. And then, of course, we use appropriate citation styles. So you need to familiarize yourself with the citation style required by the institution or by your professor or by the class or by the program. Now, these things are going to be very important in order for you to maintain integrity in your papers. So, hindi pwedeng nag-copy-paste ka from a source and then you call it a day, or you're using your old papers for your new papers, or you're using someone's work and call that your own. So obviously these are no-nos, right? Whenever we write academic essays and any other types of essays in general. And then, of course, very important would be the post writing. So for the post writing, we divided into two general tasks, the editing and the proofreading. So these are two separate tasks, actually. Proofreading is obviously the last thing you do. But before you proofread, you need to be able to do the editing. So the post writing is normally often referred to as the revision stage. But the revision stage can also include both editing, where you revise content for unity and coherence. So this means that you're not yet checking the grammatical errors, the spelling errors. What you are watching out for during the editing stage would be the errors in terms of coherence. Say in a paragraph, is there a sentence here that makes the paragraph lack cohesion or lack unity? Katulad ng ginawa natin yesterday. And then finally, you have proofreading, wherein basically you just draw from your knowledge of grammar to ensure proper grammar mechanics, and spelling. So let's take a look at this. So obviously, wala muna tayong essay ngayon. So let's look at paragraphs first to check. Let's look at paragraphs. Here I have sample paragraphs. And let's practice editing the paragraphs. So what can you say about the paragraph? What's wrong with it? Is there anything that we can improve by editing the paragraph? Again, when editing, we are referring to the content pa muna. Content pa muna before all of the more specific grammatical issues that we can look at. Take a look at the content, the structure of the paragraph. What can be edited to make it read better? Right? There's no coherence. What contributes to the lack of coherence? Disorganized. Because what does it do? So here, the first sentence is about impressionism. The second sentence is about abstract expressionism. And then you go back again to impressionism. So you're jumping back and forth between impressionism and abstract expressionism. That's right. So you're cramming different information that are not related to each other. This is the process of editing. You look at the content and the structure first. And you notice that there might be something wrong with it, something that you can still correct. It's it's a waste of time to proofread at this stage because you're basically correcting grammar at a point when the content can still be further improved. So, tipong nagko-correct ka na ng spelling, ng errors sa subject-verb agreement, pero yung content pala, hindi pa maayos. So, di ba, nadodoble lang yung oras that you're going to spend editing and proofreading your work. So, the first thing to do when revising is always to check for content, for structure, for organization. Once you feel like the essay is already intact and coherent as a whole, that's the time we do the proofreading. Because it's the final stage. Ito yung, basically, the content checks out, na-follow niya na yung outline mo, yung thesis statement mo. Meron ka na lang errors here and there. So that's what you want to correct. And then ready na siya for submission. But again, editing has to do more with the bigger picture. Okay? So you're all correct. So we're jumping back and forth. And so this can be the corrected version. Maintains a clear and consistent focus. So dito gusto nating pagsamahin pa rin yung impressionism and abstract expressionism. Pero ginawa natin na we have clear differentiation between the two art movement. But eventually, as you write, pwede rin namang may two separate paragraphs ka for each of the art movement. Again, it depends on what is the purpose of your essay. What about this one? It sounds correct already. Reads, if you look at it, parang tama naman siya. But what can be improved in this paragraph? It's too vague. It's transforming various sectors such as healthcare and finance. Okay, so say you want that's correct. You can add more ideas. But say for example, this is just your um introductory portion, which talks about AI. So if you look at it, again, it's too vague. No transitional devices, you can say that. But if you look at the order, for example, of the sentences, what can you say? Is there something here that makes the paragraph seem to lack coherence? What do you think? Diba? AI is transforming various sectors, and then suddenly you have AI involves machines simulating human intelligence, and then the use of AI enables efficient decision making and improves service delivery. So you can see, diba, the second sentence seems out of place. Do you agree? Why is it out of place? Because the first and the last sentences actually talked about the different sectors. And then suddenly you're introducing what AI is all about, diba? It seems irrelevant to the entirety of your paragraph. So again, dito natin sinasabi na, wait, am I just adding the sentence for the sake of adding the sentence, or does it actually contribute to the paragraph itself? And so perhaps what you can do is to compress the sentence. So say for example, AI, which involves machine simulating human intelligence. Di ba? Ito yung tinatawag nating compression. Gusto kasi natin i-introduce pa rin yung konsepto na this is what AI is all about. But we focus already on how it's able to transform various sectors. At ano yung mga sectors na yon? Healthcare and finance. And then of course, in the rest of your essay, you can already further discuss how AI can transform healthcare and finance, which enables these sectors to have an efficient decision-making process and how it improves service delivery. So minsan, so there are also certain times when you can compress the sentences in order for you to still give emphasis to whatever topic or issue you may want to discuss in that particular paragraph. Okay? What about this one? What do you think, given this paragraph? So you're writing about how difficult that math is difficult. So it lacks um, transitional devices. The second sentence could be placed at the first. So you might want to introduce math first. So again, you might want to revisit and you might want to criticize, diba? What is the paragraph really all about? Right, so again, the sentences lack continuity. So this particular, the last sentence doesn't belong, diba? It's an essential subject that has numerous applications in real life. Again, through all of the sentences, uh, actually pertain to math, 'di ba? Lahat naman tungkol sa mathematics. Pero again, walang coherence yung paragraph. We don't exactly know what the author or what the writer wants to talk about. So, an edited version can look like this. Mathematics, katulad ng sinabi kanina, an essential subject with numerous real-life applications. So, naisama mo pa rin yung thought mo about the numerous applications. Pero, highlight mo yung notion na it can be challenging for some students. The struggle often arises from mathematics requiring logical thinking and problem solving skills, which may be difficult for students with learning differences such as calculus. So actually, you can see here, wala tayong sinayang na ideas. Pero sa edited version, we're able to make the ideas more compact and highlight the idea na this is what makes math challenging for some students. And so again, these are some of the skills, diba, that we can use whenever we are editing. In fact, you don't have to cut away a lot of your materials, especially if you feel like they're very, very important. But you have to find a way to write them in a way na it fits the context of your topic or your paragraph. What about this one? So say you actually do want to to state the however portion. However, you want to point out the unhealthy eating habits. But again, reading through the paragraph, what can you say? Does it seem too abrupt? That's right. It seems too fast, diba? It immediately jumps into the topic of an imbalanced diet, I suppose. So nutrition is a of the balanced diet. So nutrition plays a critical factor in maintaining good health. So again, if you want to retain all of the original ideas, here's a simple way of rewriting it. Nutrition plays a critical role in maintaining good health with a balanced diet including fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains. However, the overconsumption of processed food and sugary drinks prevalent in many diets today can lead to health problems like obesity and diabetes. So here you can see we've retained most of our original ideas, but fixed the sentences in a way that they don't seem, that the transition don't seem very, very abrupt. Of course, in an essay, if it's a longer paper, then you can in fact uh, explore first balanced nutrition and then go on to discuss bad health eating habits. But again, if this is just a context overview, say you place it into introduction, which is going to be not going to be very long. So we might want to fix it in a way to include all of the important data that you want to include, but present it in a manner that would not be overwhelmingly fast, diba? In terms of the transition para sa inyong audience. Okay? So that's how we can edit our paragraphs. So let's try practicing editing more. Let's try more practice for editing. So please open exercise 1 on Canvas. So this should be under the basics of academic writing. For exercise 1, you are given 5 paragraphs. And what you have to do would be to read through the paragraph carefully and check whether there's anything that you can improve to make the paragraph clearer, to make it easily understandable for your audience. Are you able to open the file? Okay, so you have 15 minutes. So let's go back here at 11:15 so we can discuss your answers. Again, you are given a space after each paragraph. So you can just note there kung ano yung i-improve mo sa paragraph na yun. And then we'll go over the answers afterwards. So let's start at 11:20. Okay? Here. All right, thank you. So let's go over your answers. So again, you were given 5 paragraphs. And the focus should be on the error in terms of paragraph structure and content. So I have outlined some of the errors that you might have seen, such as unrelated points, missing transitions, and sudden topic shifts. So let's go over the paragraphs and see what can we edit in those paragraphs to make the paragraphs more coherent. So again, this is the process of editing. We're not yet looking for all of the proofreading errors, so yung mga subject-verb agreement errors. So what we want to focus on would be the content itself. So for the first one about social media, so actually all of the paragraphs would pertain to social media use among young adults. So it actually flows like one short essay, but we're going to examine the paragraphs individually. So what did you find to be the issue with paragraph number 1? Okay, so average yung the second sentence can be integrated into the first, seem to be out of place, and lack transitioning devices. Mhm. Okay, so you have, in particular, you have the last one, diba? So here you have, so what is the paragraph all about? So the paragraph is all about the use the skyrocketing use of social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. They have become integral parts of daily life. You have you have here a general statistic of what what young adult would do using social media. Okay, and then so there's a portion here, especially the final part that seems too abrupt, like here. For example, there is a jump to a separate topic about digital footprint, diba? So like what you have shared as well. So this can be developed separately. So for example, your next paragraph can be about digital footprint and how that can impact future opportunities, because the paragraph is basically just all about the skyrocketing use of social media. So again, dito natin makikita na while it's all about social media, again, we should ensure that the paragraph is in fact talking about just one thing. What about this one? What about paragraph number 2? Again, if you don't want, again, encourage everyone, please share your answers so that we can discuss as well. So here, again, this is still social media as used to express creativity and individuality. Okay, that's right. So here you have, okay, so the order of the sentences, that's right, unordered sentences, that's right, so the order. Here, the paragraph is all about social media as a way to express creativity and individuality. So you have the second sentence pertaining to how do they do that, diba? Uh, Reflecting their personal interests, hobbies, and beliefs. That's still your creativity and individuality, right? Pressure to maintain a perfect online image can be overwhelming, leading to anxiety and stress. Additionally, it's important to note that social media can enhance communication skills. These would seem out of place here. So the need to receive validation can in fact be moved, 'di ba? Dito sa after ng stress. Tapos we can totally remove the sentence about enhancing social media, enhancing com skills. And perhaps, again, depending on what you want to write about, that can be a separate discussion entirely. So kung makikita naman natin, ito yung topic sentence mo for your paragraph. Use social media as a way to express creativity and individuality. Itong creation and sharing of content reflecting your personal interest. So that's still part of your individuality and your creativity. And then dito, it transitions to the pressure of that maintenance, di ba, of your online image. What can that do? Tapos, what makes more sense to add after that would be uh, the idea that we're presenting an idealized version of ourselves. So the additionally part here doesn't seem to belong, di ba, in the context of this paragraph. What about the third one? So again, social media platforms being able to provide young adults with opportunities to connect with the world. So social connection. So for this one, the unrelated. So may mga sentences na unrelated to the rest of the paragraph. So let's see. Ano ba yung what is the paragraph all about? So you have here connecting, diba? This can lead to the formation of diverse social networks and the exchange of ideas, so still related. Social media can also be a powerful tool for social activism and awareness, allowing young adults to engage with important issues and mobilize for causes they care about. However, reduced academic performance. So, yung reduced academic performance doesn't seem to be related. Kahit pa man, meron kang transition na however. But again, what the paragraph is talking about is about what the paragraph is about would be the what social media can ultimately do, right? So for this particular paragraph, we are discussing, in fact, the positive aspects of social media. Diba? If you look at the first few parts, opportunities to connect with people from around the world, and then all of these are in fact positive. Diverse social networks, exchange of ideas, powerful tool for social activism. Then suddenly meron kang negative dito, like excessive use of like academic performance being negatively affected, reduced academic performance, and then here you also have echo chambers put as a social media as a potentially used for misinformation. Again, so everything might be about social media, but the way that the ideas are put together will be very distracting to your audience. So yun yung sinasabi natin na these are the things that we need to edit for, that we need to edit whenever we are writing. But the fourth one. So dito naman, drawbacks na ang pinag-uusapan. So kung yung sa simula dito, 'di ba? So again, if you consider it as one essay, lalong magiging siyang mali. So, positive aspects, may drawback bigla sa dulo, pero meron ka naman palang paragraph for the drawbacks or for the negative aspects. So what would be the negative aspects? Mm-hmm. Right. So that has to do with the economic, the more second unrelated to the paragraph of effects. All right. Okay. So here for it mixes the drawbacks with unrelated point about economic impact, which is a positive impact. So makikita natin that the paragraph is about drawbacks. So one major issue is an impact on sleep patterns. Diba? Additionally, it can contribute to feelings of isolation and loneliness. Again, negative aspects yon. Again, makikita natin dito na mayroon siya mga proofreading errors. Pero at this point, since we're still just editing, hindi pa natin siya masyadong ini-edit out because we want to focus first on the content. Even though it is meant to connect people. So basically, i-correct mo lang siya, idudugtong mo dito. Contribute to feelings of isolation and loneliness even though it's meant to connect people. And then suddenly, you have a point about the economic impact of social media. So, pwede natin itong tanggalin. Then we can focus on, it is crucial for young adults to set boundaries and limit their screen time to mitigate these negative effects. And then perhaps we can also just add a paragraph if you still want to discuss economic impact. What about the last one? So again, this is a very simplistic essay, kaya meron pa siyang in conclusion. So social media is a double-edged sword for young adults. What do you think of this final paragraph? Is everything here written to to recall, di ba, yung pagiging double-edged, when sensitive aspect. Mhm. So yung balancing online interactions, so kung ayaw mo siyang isabay, pwede naman. Pero yung balancing online interactions with offline activities is key to maintaining a healthy rate. This can be considered a call for action, diba? That ultimately, what message would you like to leave your audience at the end of your essay? Right? So this is a call, this can be considered as a call for action na given that social media can be a double-edged sword, meaning it can be both negative and positive. So what can you do to maintain that healthy relationship? So yes, this so yes, what can be out of place here would be the, di ba, the rest of the essay actually talks about how an individual utilizes social media and the benefits and the disadvantages of social media to one person, right? So if you look at the parents and educators, it doesn't seem to be related to the rest of the content, primarily because, again, it focuses on the individuals, pero dito meron ka ng external na stakeholder, yung parents and educators. And this seems to be an entirely different aspect of the topic already. So again, yung pagdagdag ng mga ganyang information, kasi siguro gusto mo marami, pahahabain na pa yung sinusulat mo, magdagdag ng more information. Again, it doesn't seem to be related to the entirety of your essay. May point naman, tama naman, that parents and educators should play a role in guiding young adults on healthy social media usage, but that's not really part, diba, of the essay that you are writing. So again, this is what we often check for when you read students' papers, the idea that everything that you write or that you include in your essay actually contributes significantly to the objective of your essay. And so you have to be mindful of the details that you include in order for you to make your readers feel that may sense talaga, diba, yung ating sinusulat. At talagang at the end of the day, may contribution yon sa goal, sa purpose ng ating paper. And then finally, as I've mentioned a while ago, we have proofreading, which is revising to ensure proper grammar, mechanics, and spelling. So dito, since we've discussed grammar already on day 1, we just want to review our usage of grammar as it relates to actual essays. So please open exercise 2. In exercise 2, you'll find 2 short paragraphs. Each sentence, in each sentence, you'll find an error in terms of grammatical structure. So just correct the error. There are 10 sentences there overall. So I'll just give you 10 minutes because it's very short. So let's return here at 10:44. Sorry, 11:44. And then we'll spend about 5 minutes on checking your answers. Are you able to open exercise 2? Okay, so again, just correct the errors in each sentence. So again, this is a very, it's quite a simple activity because all you have to do would be to point out the error per sentence. So this is normally what we do during the proofreading stage. Of course, hindi naman necessary na since kayo nagsulat, merong error per sentence, but but the proofreading stage is a way for you to check for any grammatical errors. And that's what you do before your final submission. All right, so let's answer. So please share your answers again. What is the error for sentence 1? Have here the sentence. Social media has become integral. has become integral part of modern life. Many, okay. Ano yung ano yung glaring error dito? No article in the first, so, so has become an integral part. Okay. Actually, but more than that, what is the more glaring error? Yung article kasi mapagbibigyan mo pa, 'di ba? Daily can be improved. Daily sounds dyan. Commentary of modern life, maningas daily scrolling. Okay. A run-on sentence. Mhm. Okay. Okay. Take a look at this, everyone. Some of the errors you mentioned can still be so those are points for improvement as well. Pero it has more to do with the style and tone. Pero dito kung ano talaga yung error na grammatical, that this would be it. We call this in English comma splice. Do you recall? Yung comma splice, ito yung you're separating two independent clauses using a comma when in fact it's better to use either you add a conjunction or you rewrite it entirely. Yeah, you can use a semicolon if you want to. 'Di ba? Iyan yung pinaka, kumbaga, out of all of the ones that you've noticed, some of those has to do with the tone, style, and word choices. But still grammatical pa rin naman sila. Ito talaga yung tunay dito na grammatical error. Pwedeng where many yung sa modern life. Pwede rin naman siguro yung where, pero better then if you add a conjunction or you replace the punctuation if you want to do. Pwedeng social media has become integral part of modern life. Pwedeng lagyan mo ng end, pwedeng lagyan mo ng semicolon, pwede mong sabihan with many young adults spending hours daily scrolling. So again, it depends. So again, we are looking at yung talagang grammar error. What about the second one? However, spending so much time online has negative effects on mental health and productivity is decreased. What error can you see here? For number two. Mm-hmm. Right. So, no comma before it. Okay. So, you can fix this part. So, there are multiple suggestions. Spending so much time online has negative effects on mental health. You can end here. Pwede mo lagyan ng period. Or you can add a comma here. But when you add a comma here, it doesn't show parallelism. However, spending so much has negative effects on mental health. Pwede rin namang lagyan mo ng comma, tapos prior to that conjunction so that it's a separate clause altogether. Effects on mental health, comma, and productivity is decreased. Pwede mo rin naman siyang i-separate. But this portion here, this is what's wrong with your sentence. What about the third one? Constant exposure to idealized lives can lead feelings of inadequacy and depression. What is wrong with number three? Can lead, kulang ng preposition over here, di ba? Can lead to. Moreover, lack of face-to-face interactions reduces development of social skills. So dito ano yung kulang? The, correct. So the law over here. To mitigate these issues, it's important for young adults to balance their online and offline activities. What is lacking here? Okay, so it is important. Actually, binasa ko na siya as it is because it's very awkward to read it as it's important. Okay, it is important. What about for the sixth one? Many young adults use social media to express. So what is wrong here? Subject-verb agreement, young adult. So should be used, diba? Many young adults use social media to express their connectivity. Okay. Pwede rin naman, pwede mo nga rin namang dagdagan to ng to connect. Pwede rin yun, to connect with their peers. Pero ito yung mas glaring na error. Despite these benefits, there are significant drawbacks which cannot be ignored. So dito, ano yung pwedeng i-correct? So number 7. What will you correct for number seven, for seven? Despite these benefits, there are significant drawbacks which cannot be ignored. So it has to do with the use of which. Do you rationalize kung anong ginagamit yung which or that? Kailan ginagamit ang that? Kailan ginagamit ang which? That if it's a you use that if it's a restrictive clause. So when you say it's a restrictive clause, the idea that comes after that, talagang gusto mo siyang isama doon, di ba? Significant drawbacks, so that cannot be ignored. Pero pag which to, so technically, in that sentence, pwede mo nang tanggalin yung which na part kasi non-restrictive yung clause na yon. Okay? What about for number 8? Excessive use of social media leads to. Okay, which affects overall. So we just remove it altogether. Tama ba? Do you agree? It's incorrect to say, diba? Which it affects overall health. What about number 9? Additionally, the need for validation. Okay. So kahit pa marami yan, likes, comments, pero your original noun is need, diba? So therefore should be creates pressure to present a perfect image. Finally, cyberbullying becomes more prevalent, causing further psychological harm on individuals. Okay, so not on. This is improper. This is incorrect preposition. Should be you cause harm to, diba? To people, to animals, etc., etc. So again, proofreading should be the last stage of the revision process. So again, if you go back to your writing process, the proofreading should be the last part. And then evaluation, so this is the part where you check that everything is in order and you are ready to submit or you're ready for your paper to be reviewed or graded by your professor, to be read by your audience, basically. All right, so that's it, everyone. So that ends the language portion of the English review. As mentioned, starting tomorrow, different instructors. So Professor Urseta will handle the review, the reading portion of our English review. So thanks everyone for your active participation and I hope to see you around the campus. So good luck and I hope you do well in your stay in the university. So thanks everyone. Goodbye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you po.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you po.